By the end of this video, you're going to have the knowledge and the confidence to create a website yourself with no prior knowledge, design, or marketing experience needed. And you're going to get my designer pro tips along the way to make sure it looks good. We'll be using the free version of Elementor, the world's best drag and drop page building program, to create it so that you can easily control it yourself. It could look like this, or any of these, because what you'll learn in this video is that versatile. So yeah, you could have a website like this, or this, live and online today. And I'm not gonna waste any time here, so to get started, we'll just need to get your domain name, if you don't already have one, and a simple hosting plan. So your domain name is just the address of your website, like any of these, and your hosting is pretty much just a dedicated computer that's always online that houses all of your data, pages, images, and content. So there's no getting around hosting. You need it to get a website up. But I've worked out a special pricing deal with my favorite web hosting company, Bluehost, to save you about 70%. So just click the link down in the description below or go to wesmcdowell.com/hosting to get that deal. Okay, so if you follow that link, you should end up on this landing page, and if it looks like this, that means you're getting the best deal. So as you can see here, it's normally $9.99, but I've worked out special pricing for you guys for $2.95 a month. So I'm just gonna click on Get Started Now. And from here, you can select your plan. They've given you 3 options here, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you basic is just fine for your purposes here. And unless you have a crazy big website that's gonna take up more than 10 gigs of space, you get all the good stuff here. You get unlimited bandwidth, a free security certificate, which is really critical, and pretty much everything you need. So I'm just gonna click on Select. And now is where you make that choice of if you want to use a domain you already own. Maybe you already have a website and this is more of a redesign, in which case you would type your domain name here. But I'm going to assume you probably are starting for the first time. So here's where you just type in the domain name that you would want. Generally, it's your business name, some variation on that. Something like that, and then you can choose .com or any of these other extensions. I always recommend .com just because that's what people are most familiar with. So I would always try that first, and then you click on Next, and now we get to see if it's actually available or not. Okay, so good news, that one is available. If it's not, it'll come up red, and you'll just have to kind of go back and try again. You can do a variation on your name, or you could use .net or something like that. And now you're just gonna fill in all of this information here. And you can choose your account plan. And I would do the 12-month because that gives you the $2.95 a month. If you do 36 months, for some reason it goes up. So that makes it easy. Now we get down to package extras. So you can pretty much get rid of almost all of these. I will say, I recommend you get this one, Domain Privacy and Protection, simply because if you don't, you're likely to get spam calls and spam emails for like the next few months. So I always like to check that, but that's completely up to you. Maybe you're okay with getting those calls. And then you're just gonna put in your credit card information and then go down and click on these options and then finally on Submit. Okay, so if all went well, you'll get to this screen where we'll just click on Create Your Password. And I'll just do that right here. And we'll click this little checkbox and click on Create Account. All right, so we've got our password. Now just click on Create Your Website. And I'm gonna click on Skip this step. And here you'll choose whatever purpose your website is going to fulfill. And I'm going to click on Skip this step. And here we'll just type in the name of our business. And a tagline if you want one. It's not really necessary. And then continue. So now it's asking us to pick a theme. We're going to skip this because we're actually going to do it a different way using my favorite plugins. We're going to go and click on Skip this step. So now we're actually in the dashboard area for Bluehost, but to get building, we need to be in the dashboard for WordPress. So right up here, there's this button. I'm going to click on Log into WordPress. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever used WordPress before, but this is the dashboard. This is what you see when you first log into it. And I'm going to give you a really quick crash course of where things are located. So first thing you'll see is it says site status coming soon. That means that it's whatever you build here is not going to be live and people won't be able to see it. So it's your choice if you want to take this step later or right now. I'm just going to show you really quickly how to get it launched so that it's live. So if you come up here to where it says Bluehost at the top and then go down to Launch with Confidence, and then just click on Launch Your Site. That means whatever we do today, whatever we build will be live and people can see it right away. So if you just click over on Dashboard, this is what the main default view is going to look like as soon as you log into WordPress. And over here, we've got a few things. So we've got posts. This is where you would add any blog posts you want to do. And media, this is where all of your photos and files would live. And then pages, this is where your pages go. So if you have a home page, about us page, all that good stuff, it comes pre-done with a privacy policy and a sample page. And then appearance, we'll get to that later. Plugins, we'll get to that in a minute. That's really important. And users, this is where you can set your own username and your password and all that good stuff. You can actually give someone else access to it as well by simply clicking on Add New and going through those steps. Highly recommend doing that if you work with anybody else rather than giving them your username and password. It's nice and clean just to have everyone have their own login. And that's pretty much all you need to know for right now. So let's go ahead and go to Plugins and then Add New. So now we're going to add the plugin that's going to help us actually build our website, complete with pre-built site kits that you can customize to look any way you want to. So right here where it says keyword and search plugins, I'm going to type in Elementor. And then this is the one we're looking for right here, Elementor Website Builder. It is my absolute favorite way of making any new website, and it's super easy. You'll be able to get the hang of this in just a few minutes. So I'm going to click on Install Now, and then on Activate. So I'm just going to click on Skip right now, and then continue with Hello Theme. And you'll type in your business name here, then click on Next. And if you have a logo, you can add it at this point, but we're just going to add it in later. So I'm going to click on Skip for now. And now we're going to click on Browse from over 100 templates or import your own. And here's where we have all of these different, what they call site kits that you can start from and then customize with all of your own images and fonts and colors. So it really looks branded for your business. So you will notice some of these say Pro. That means you have to have Elementor Pro, which is, I think it's around $50 a year to have that. And if you can afford that, I highly recommend it simply because you get more options when you have Pro in terms of widgets and whatnot. But we are completely going to be using the free version today, so don't worry. And it's up to you to decide which of these layouts you want to start with. Every single thing I teach you today, you can start with any of these templates and make it work for you. But to make things easy, I'm going to choose this one right here. It's called Local Services Wireframe 3. I just like starting from a place of like no real design happening yet so that you can truly make it your own. And I like this kind of a layout where the headline is on the side and the image is on this side. It just works a lot better on mobile, I find, than a layout like this where the text goes over an image. So I'm going to choose this one right here. I'm going to click on View Demo. And you'll notice it comes with all these different pages. And by the way, we can change any of these pages to be like, if we don't like gallery, we'd rather that be, testimonials or something like that. We can absolutely make that change. And you'll see it has all these different sections that we customize, and we can change the sections around. We can add sections, delete sections at will. It's all very customizable. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it step by step. So I'm going to click on Apply Kit and then Get Started. And here it's actually going to prompt you to create a free Elementor account. So at that point, just click on Create an Account, and then just put in your email, make up a password, and then click on Create Account, and you're set. Okay, so once you've signed up, it's going to ask you to apply the kit, and I'm going to click on Apply All. And then it's going to prompt you to this. I'm going to click on Enable. And now it might take a few minutes to set up everything because it's setting up all of the pages that it comes with, all the layouts, the theme, all that good stuff. So I'm going to come back as soon as it's finished loading. Okay, so the kit we chose is now live, and I'm going to click on Close. So now we're back in the WordPress dashboard. So to get editing on our homepage, we're just going to go over to Pages, All Pages, and you'll see we have all of those here. They all loaded for us. And click on Home, Edit with Elementor. Okay, so here's our first peek at the Elementor dashboard. So first of all, the navigator's popped up here. It may or may not be for you. I'm going to close it out just for simplicity's sake. And see, we've got our header up here. So we've got just the name of our business. We're going to change that in a second to be the logo. But we can see we have all these different sections. And every section, you'll know it has a blue box around it. That's how you know that's a section. And then every section is made up of columns. So this one has 2 columns, and every column has a gray box around it with this little box up here. Then this has 1 column, this has 3 columns, and so on. And within the columns are widgets. So this would be a headline widget. This would be a divider line widget and a button widget. And the general gist of how this works is this is the staging area over here on the right, and this is the editor on the left. So anything in the editor, when you click on this grid up here to get all the widgets, all of these widgets can be dragged onto the stage and then customized over here on the editor. I'm going to go ahead and delete what I just did here. So I'm going to right click, delete. And one really important rule for the road here before we even get going, this little green button down here that says update. You're going to want to press that pretty often. That's just going to save your work as you go. It generally does a pretty good job of saving for you anyway, but we want to make sure that nothing gets lost. So whenever you think about it, click on update, and that way nothing will ever get lost for you. So before we get started, just to start off really nice and clean, I do want to get rid of this this magenta text up here. So I'm going to go up to this little menu icon right here, go to Site Settings, and then Header, and then down where it says Site Logo, I'm just going to click on that. And under Type, right now it's the title of the website. Like we just typed in the title in an earlier step. So I'm going to switch that to Logo. And I'll set the logo width, I know we don't have it set up there yet, but I'll set it to about 90 pixels wide or so. And I'm going to click on Update. And if you have your logo at this point, you can click on Site Identity and we can set that up, or you can do that step a little bit later. But I'm going to click on Select Logo, and then I've got mine right here. I'm simply going to take the file and drag it onto the stage, and then click on Select. On Skip Cropping, and there we go. It's up at the top. I'm going to click on Publish. Now to get back to editing the homepage, we're just going to click on the X. Okay, so now we're back in the Elementor editor. Okay, so I think we're ready now to edit our homepage, and we're going to start with text. I'm going to show you exactly how to modify not only the content of your text, but also how it's styled. So remember how I said anything you see over here on the stage can be edited over here in the editor. So let's just see that in action. So we've got a headline right here. So we're going to click on it. And when you see the blue box around it, that's how you know it's selected. Then you'll go over to the editor. Under content, this is where you would actually type in whatever kind of headline you wanted. And you can set that to be aligned on the left like it is now, or centered, or on the right. And that goes for pretty much all of the text on your site. And then you could type in a different description down here. So again, you just click on it and you would edit it over here. You can even, you can bold certain things. You can italicize certain things. And that's a great thing to do if you want anything to kind of stand out. And going down the page, you can do the same thing. So here we have another heading. You just click on it, change the text right here. And it's the same for almost all of these. And here we have a text editor. This isn't a headline. So again, you would just input whatever text you want here, and you could bold some of that right there, and maybe like that. And you would just continue this all the way down. But here we have an instance of something that I call a compound widget, okay? So here we don't have a separate image, headline, and description. This is all one element, and it's called an image box. So if you wanted to edit this, you would just go over here under the image box, and we'll talk about images later. We won't do that right now, but under where it says title and description, you'd put that in there, and then the description would go in here like so. Pretty straightforward. And the same thing's going to go down here for benefits. So this is an icon box. It's very similar to the image box. It just happens to use an icon instead of a photo. So title, description is edited here. And here's another instance of a compound widget. This is a testimonial block. So here you would just input the actual body of the testimonial in here in quotes, and then the person's name would go here. Then if you want to give them a title, you would just put that in right here. So I think you get now how to actually change the text on your page, but what about the style of it? Because really anything goes here. You can do pretty much anything you want. So I'm just going to take this headline here and I'm going to click on it, and then instead of content, I'm going to go up to style. So Here's where we can change things like the text color, the typography, meaning the font and the size of it, how bold it is, all that good stuff. So for text color, we can just click on this little color block right here. We can make it anything we want. And sometimes it helps to have like an actual color code, but if you don't have it, you can just play around with it until you get it how you want it. I'll just put it back. And here's a good note. So basically anytime you want to go back in time and undo something, you can either do Command Z, or you can actually go down to this little icon where it says history and click on that. And then you can go back all these steps back in time to get it back to how you wanted it. But I'm just going to click back on the text to get back to where we were. Now let's go to typography. So I'm going to click on the little pencil icon. And here's where you can choose your font. So family just refers to font. And the cool thing is you have access to literally thousands of Google fonts. So you can obviously do a search for Google fonts and you can pick which ones you want. Or I've actually made it really easy for you because there's tons to choose from. I've actually put together some of my best font pairing combinations that will work for almost any case. So the link for that is in the description below if you want to grab my guide and make it easier on yourself. But so we can choose things like the font here. We can choose the size of it. I might make it a little smaller. We can choose the weight. So some fonts are going to have a ton of different options. Some are just going to have normal and bold. But it's on, it's in the middle right now. But if you wanted to make it like really, really heavy, you could do 900. I'm just going to put it back to 600. I think that looks good. You can transform. You can make it all uppercase if you wanted to do that. And style, you can make it, italic if you wanted to do that. Decoration, I never really use that. But here's an interesting one that you might need to use, line height. So sometimes things can be a little too spaced out, in which case you'd want to control it here. Letter spacing I don't use very much, but it controls like how much space is between the letters. So you obviously have really granular control over everything with your fonts, but the way I like to do it is to make it really easy so that all your fonts are controlled in one place, so you don't have to click on each instance of it to change it. Just go up to the menu icon up here and go to Site Settings, and then Global Fonts. So then you would just take whatever fonts you want for your headers, and you would input that under primary and secondary. So you just click on each one and input it the way you want it. And then body text is like this would be a good instance of body text right down here. Like I might make it slightly bigger. So even if I was okay with the font, I might bump it up to maybe 17. And then accent text, that's usually for your buttons. Then oddly enough, the one thing that isn't controlled by primary or secondary headers is this top headline in your top hero section. So this is where you would modify that under hero headlines. You just click that and choose whatever you want and make it whatever size you want it to be as well. And then once you made all your choices, click on update and then back to editor. And I should mention anything that you chose there in that global styles, you can modify in a one-off basis. So let's say you wanted to make this a different font for some reason, you could do that just by going over to style, typography, and then choose, whatever you want there. But I will Command Z that, get us back to where we were. But now let's say you wanted to actually add a text block that's not already there. It's really easy to do. Just go up to this little grid icon up here. This is where your widgets are. And let's say you wanted some kind of little text above this headline. You just take a text editor, drag it right above here, and then you would edit it, of course, in the editor. And then we could style that. If, let's say we wanted it to be all uppercase, we'd go to typography, transform, uppercase, and then maybe we make the letter spacing a little bit wider. And the same thing goes for headlines. If you want a new headline, just drag it right here. Just drag it right where you want it to be. You would edit it right here. And then you can even move it around if you wanted to. Or if you want to delete it, just right click, delete, and it's gone. And I'm also going to delete this. I don't think we need it. And I'm going to show you one more thing that's you need to know in terms of text, and that is links. So right here under our services, you'll see a good example of some link text. It says learn more. I'm just going to click on that. And then here's where you'd set that link. So let's say you wanted that to go to our services page. We already have one built because it's part of the site kit. So I would just type in services, and it's right there. And then that's where that will go. And if you wanted to make just a kind of free-form link anywhere else on your page, it's really easy to do too. So here we have a text editor. you can't really do this in a heading, but you can do it in a text editor. So if I wanted to link up the text, the services you offer, I'm just going to make sure I've selected this block. Then I'm going to go over here on the left and highlight the services you offer, and then click on Insert Edit Link. And then again, I'm going to type in services. Then in order for this to actually be applied, you have to click this little blue button. And now we have a link right here. But I'm going to go ahead and do a Command Z. And now I want to talk about buttons. So we've got buttons all throughout the page. They're really important, obviously. So there's a lot you can do with these as well. And just like with text, all you need to do is click on it to get started. And then under content, here's where you can override the text that's on here. So right now it says contact us. Maybe you want it to say something more like schedule now, or even buy now, or download, anything like that. Then underneath that, this is where you set the link for it. So similarly to how we just set the text links, all you're gonna do is click in this field. And let's say you want this to go to our contact page up here. So I'm just gonna start typing in contact, and then here we go, it pops up for us. So now I've set it to link directly to that contact form. And you can also set the alignment. Currently it's set to left, or you can center it, or you can set it over to the right. I'll just put it back to the left. It's what looks best here. And you can change the size here if you want to do that. Or you can even make it a little fancier and choose an icon to go with it. So you can upload your own icon, but we don't really need to do that. They've got plenty for us to choose from. I'm just going to click on Icon Library. I'll type in chevron. That's going to get us these little arrows. So I'll just choose this little right-facing arrow and then insert. And then you can play around with where it's placed. Right now it's before. I think it's going to look better after. And then you can play around with the spacing, make it a little further or a little closer, whatever looks good to your eye. And if you wanted to get rid of it, you just click on this little none button right next to it. But that's not all. We can also change the color of it too pretty easily. So let's just go up to style, and we can change the color right here. We can change the text color. Let's say we wanted to make that, black maybe, and then maybe the color of the button itself, something over in this family. I've actually got a color code. I'm going to type that in right here. And then I'll put the text color back on white. I think that's going to look best. But you'll notice when you hover over the button, it changes, right? The style of it changes. And that is controlled by hover. So right now we have normal styling, then we have hover styling. So you can do kind of anything you want here. I like to do something that's just pretty subtle. So what I would probably do here is I'm gonna go to color, and I'm gonna type in the same color code, but I'm just gonna make it slightly darker, like that. And then you'll see the text changes to blue, so I'm gonna change that back over to white. So here's what we get. It's just a nice subtle little variation. And then I can also see that we have a little bit of a border that's blue. You can play with that if you want. You can change the thickness of it. You can change the color of it, obviously. But I actually just want to get rid of it. So I'm going to click from solid to none. And then we have border radius. So notice how it's like a pill shape. It's all rounded. So if we were to make this 0, it would be a complete rectangle. If we go up a little bit, it has that nice little rounded edge look. Or if we keep going, it's just gonna make it completely round like we had before. Completely up to you how you wanna handle it. They're all good. It just really depends on what kind of style you wanna go for. Now, one cool thing we can do is notice how we have a lot of different buttons around the site. So what we can do is we can actually apply that style across the board simply by right-clicking on it, copy. Now we'll go down to our first instance and we'll right-click on this button and then paste style. And you'll notice that left aligned it because the alignment is not controlled in style. So we actually have to go under content and we'll just recenter that. And we'll do it again here. We'll paste style. And once more. And let's say you want to add another button somewhere else, like maybe under the benefits section here. So I'm just going to go up to widgets and button, and I'll just drag it right underneath. And then of course I'll right click, paste style, and we've got another instance of the same button. And if you wanted to get rid of one, just right click on it, delete. Okay, so now for the fun part. Now we get to talk about images and background. So this is kind of the part I like the best. It's what will really make your site feel like it's for you and for your business or for whatever purpose you're creating it for. So images can be thought of in two distinct ways. Okay, so first of all, we have standalone images like this. These are widgets that you go and you basically drag an image widget over. That's how that would work. And we also have images as backgrounds. So you'll see here, this image takes up the background of this entire column. Images can also be backgrounds for an entire section. So to really make this come alive, let's put a little focus on our top hero section right here. That's what we call it, the hero section. So here we have an image in the background on the right, and we have just a normal kind of blank background on the left. Now the way we control these is just make sure you've selected the right column. So in this case, we're going to start with our image column. So I'm going to click on it, then go over to Style, and then under Background and Background Type, we've got a few choices here. So we have Classic, where you can click just any color, or you can choose an image. We also have Gradient, where you can choose, any two colors. So we'll choose a red, and then maybe we'll choose a blue here. And then you can choose the location of it. You can make it kind of as severe or as blended as you want, and then you can change the angle of it, just like that. Or we can do a slideshow. So if you click here, you can add multiple images that will cycle through. But for now, I just want to make it really simple. We'll go back to Classic, and there's already a placeholder image here. So I'm just going to click on Choose Image. And I've already uploaded all the images for the site, but what you would do if you haven't done that is you would just locate your image file in your Finder, and you would simply drag it over onto the stage here. But I'm just going to choose this image for our hero section and then click on Insert Media. Okay, so now you can see this image is in the background of this column, and you've got a few choices here. You can choose the positioning of it, like center or top center. It's probably not going to make too much of a difference right now because there's not too far for that image to go. So I'm just going to click on center for now. I think that's going to be the cleanest, and it's going to work the best when we go to our mobile views and our tablet views and that kind of thing. And you always want to make sure size is set to cover. That means your image is going to cover the entire column no matter what size it is. And this does look like a pretty good hero section as is. Like we could go with just a white background back here. It looks fine, but I want to show you also how you can use a color over here. So I'm just going to make sure I've chosen this column now, and I'll go over to Style and choose Classic. I'm going to come over here and you can choose any color, but I'm going to choose one that's pre-made. So I'm going to go to Default, and I'm going to click on Primary. That just is what it comes with. And obviously you can see our text went away. That means we have to restyle the text so that it reads on top of this background. So I'm going to click on the text block. Then under text color, I'm going to click on the color and just choose white. And then I'm going to do the same with this. And I think we also had a little divider line here, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. I don't think we need it. But if you wanted to change the color, you just go to Style. Same thing as before. I'm just going to right click, delete, nice and clean. And speaking of clean, whenever you want to get just a nice view of what it's going to look like without the edit box over here, just simply click on the little arrow to the left, and this gives you a nice little preview of what your site's going to look like. Okay, so we'll get that back. And then scrolling down the page, we can make any of these backgrounds any color we want if we wanted to do that. I happen to think it looks nice having a lot of white. But then we'll probably have one section here where we might want to add a little bit of a background. So I'm going to click on the whole section. And again, it's going to be surrounded by this blue box once it's selected. And I'll go to Style, Background Type, Classic. And then I'll choose our color palette, and I will type in this nice kind of beige color. And this is really important. Whenever you want to save a color to get back to it, all you have to do is when it's selected here in the color picker, just click on this little plus icon. And that's going to let you save it. You can even give it a name if you wanted to, maybe like beige background, and then create. And then scrolling down, maybe we want to give our testimonial section a little bit of a background color as well. So I'm going to click on the section and then Style, and then you know how to do it now. To go to Classic, and then I'm actually going to choose this really this blue light background. It already comes with it, and you'll notice how tight this section is on the text and the content. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. We will definitely fix that in a step that's coming up. I think I want to give this background a little bit of a treatment as well. So I'm going to click on the whole section, then go to Style, Background Type, and I'm going to choose our beige background color. And now we actually need to talk about those other types of images, the widgets, right? So like this is not a background. This is an actual image that started as a widget that was dragged and dropped over into place. So how do you change those up? Well, just make sure you've selected it. Then under Content and Image, just click on Choose Image, and then you would drag it onto your stage. I'm going to go ahead and choose this one and click Insert Media. It's as easy as that. So now let's go ahead and populate the rest of our photos. So we have this About Our Company section. So I'm going to click this guy right here. Oh, and this one is actually kind of funky because it is a background image. So yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Sometimes you'll get these pre-made sections that have some funky stuff going on. You just have to be able to kind of figure it out. So this is a background. So I'm going to click on the section. I'm going to click on the column. And then Style, choose Image. I'll choose this nice team image here. And then I'll do the same for the rest of these two. Now these are actual image widgets, so they're not backgrounds. So we'll click on each one, choose Image. Let's choose this one here. And then over here, we'll choose a nice other one. And then scrolling down, we'll add some images to our services. So I'm just going to click on it. Remember, this is an image box. It's a compound widget, so everything is controlled in one place from the image to the title and the description. So I'm going to choose the image, and I'll choose this one, Insert Media. And now I'm just going to quickly do the rest of these in the same way. And then going down, we'll go to our testimonials section. So this is another compound widget. So if you want to include the photos for your testimonial subjects, which I think you should, just go ahead and click on it. And then under Content, choose Image. I'm just going to choose images of the people, and we'll do it again right here. Okay, so now I want to talk about a different kind of image. This is an icon. So everything we've dealt with so far are photos, but Elementor actually comes with a lot of great icons that you can use, and it's a great thing to do in a benefits section like this. So not only can you choose what the icon represents, but you can also style it with your colors and your sizes and all that good stuff too. So I'm just going to click on Benefit 1, and here we've got this placeholder icon. So I'm just going to click on Icon Library, and I tend to like Font Awesome Regular. I think these look a little more modern, a little less blocky than some of these do. So this is just a personal preference though. So you just try to choose the icon that best represents what you're trying to talk about. Maybe a credit card here if we're talking about good pricing. And then Benefit 2, we might choose something like this guy. And I'll just choose the rest of them right here real quick. So that's just the content of the icons. Now, of course, you can change the styling as well. So I'm going to click on the first one and then go up to Style. I think you're getting the hang of this by now, right? So we have two colors. We have the primary color, which is the color of the icon itself, and the secondary, which is kind of this background behind it. So let's say you didn't even want a background behind it at all. You could definitely click on this and then click on Clear, and then that would get rid of it, nice and clean. But I actually want to do the beige background. And then for the icon itself, I might want to choose something that kind of goes with our green button, but a little more muted, something like that. And since I want to maybe save that color for later, I'm going to click on the plus icon, and I can save it that way. Just click on Create. Now I could go through all those steps for all four of these, but I don't have to. All I need to do is right-click on Copy, and then right-click Paste Style, and one more time. Super easy, right? And if you go up to Content, you can actually change other things here as well. So we've got Framed, we could do what's called Stacked, or we could just do Default, which also gets rid of the box behind it. I'm going to keep Framed. Then from there, you can do either Circle or Square. So lots of ways to customize this. And here's an instance of a photo gallery. You can see these three little dots. It allows you to scroll through multiple images. So if you wanted to use that, you just click on the Edit button, and then under Image Carousel, click on the pencil, and here you would just get rid of these placeholders. So you could select new files, or I'm just going to click on Add to Gallery, and I'm just going to choose a few that I already have, and then Add to Gallery, then Insert Gallery. Now we have all of them here scrolling through. And of course, if you wanted to add an image anywhere else, like let's say right here, you wanted to put an image maybe underneath this text, you would just go up to widgets, find image, and drag it right where you want it. Then from there, choose image, and then, you drag it onto the stage, or you choose one you've already got. And then from there, you can do other things. If you go to style, we could actually give this, maybe you want to give it a nice black border. You can change the width of it. You can make it as thick as you want or as thin as you want. You can give it a border radius. So remember those rounded edges, we could do it like that if you wanted to. You can even give it a shadow, like a drop shadow underneath it. You can change the placement of that if you want to. But I'm actually going to get rid of that, go back to default, and border type, I'll just choose none, and border radius, I will 0 that back out. And if we don't even want that image, I'm just going to right click and delete. But now let's talk about how we can actually tightly control our different sections and columns. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about sections and spacing, because it's really useful to be able to control the spacing within sections and around different elements to get really tight control and make sure everything looks good. So I'll show you the basics of what we're talking about here. So let's say within this column here, we wanted to have a little bit more spacing on the top and the bottom, and maybe even over here on this right side. So what we need to do is choose, I would just choose this column actually, because all we're trying to deal with is what's inside here. And I'm going to go up to advanced. Now, don't be intimidated by the word advanced. It's actually pretty simple, and I'll go over this. So we have two different elements that we can control here. The first is margin, and that refers to the space between the outside edge of this column and the content outside of it. So this would be referred to as margin from here to here. Padding is the opposite. That is the space from the outside edge in. So this spacing right here would be padding. And this would be padding over here, as well as this and on top. So right here within this column, we have 15% of the screen space as top padding and bottom and on the left. So if we wanted to bump that up, let's just try to make that 20 and see what that looks like. Gives you a little bit more on top, and then I'll try that on the bottom as well. I'm pretty happy with what it looks like on the left, and then on the right, let's maybe make that 5. I just think that looks a little better being a little further removed from that edge. Now let's say you wanted to tighten up the spacing between this header and the top section here. So that would be a margin above this section right here. So I'm going to choose this section and again go up to advanced, and we can see the margin has 15% on it. So I'm going to bump that down to 10 just to tighten that up ever so slightly, and I think that looks better already. And scrolling down here, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to choose our services, and I'm going to go to advanced, and I'm going to bump that down to 10. And let's say we actually wanted this button to be closer to this text. So I'm just going to choose the button, then go up to advanced, and we can see we have a margin of 4% on top. Let's just kind of see what it looks like as we go down. And I think that looks better as well. So let's see what else we've got here. So here we have a section where I think this element, this slideshow element, is just way too close to the top. It looks pretty bad that way. So I'm just going to choose the section. And what I'm going to do here is actually different. This is another thing you can do. I'm going to go up to layout, and under vertical align, I'm going to choose middle. Now that is just going to make everything within both of these columns aligned to the center of this particular section. And I think that looks pretty good. I think we are good to go there. And I think this section looks pretty good. But here we have a scenario where the content is just way too close to the edge again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose the entire section, go up to advanced, right? And then padding, let's do 10% on top and 10% on bottom. And maybe actually that's a little bit too much. Let's go ahead and bump that down to 8 and 8 there as well. And to my eye, I think that looks pretty good. And we'll do the same thing right here. So choose the section, advanced. Let's choose under padding 8 on top and 8 on the bottom. And we can even do our center align trick here too. So we can go to layout, vertical align, middle. Okay, so what about this dead white space here though? So what do we think that is? I think that is a margin on top of this section or possibly a margin below this section. So sometimes you just have to kind of troubleshoot your way around and see what's causing what. So I'm going to choose this section, go up to advanced, and yep, I'm right. It's a margin above this section. So if I were to just zero that out and delete it, now we have this section touching that section, which is more like how we would want it to be. But there's actually a lot more that we can do with sections. So let's say we wanted to actually bring this section more toward the top. All we need to do is just click right here where it says edit section and drag it up to where you want it to be. So let's say we wanted it to be here, just put it right here where you want it and then let it go. And then of course we'd want to just tighten up a margin here, but I'm going to go ahead and do a Command Z to put it back where it was. So yeah, you can move sections around, you can move columns around. Let's say we wanted to swap this column for this one. We just choose either column and then drag it over to the other position. And then you'd have a little bit of work to do to fix the margins here. Like you'd probably just choose this column, go to advanced, and then under padding, I'm gonna unlink the values so they're not tied together. And then on the right, I would just give it, however much padding it needs. But I'm gonna go ahead and undo. I'm just gonna go to history and then go back in time to before we made the move. And of course, if you wanted to delete this section altogether, or let's say you want to delete a column, right click on the column, delete, or on a whole section, right click, delete, and it's gone. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it back. And if we go up here to this section, let's say you think it's a little too busy, which I think it kind of is. I think there's a lot going on. Let's say we want to get rid of a column. We just right click, delete. And let's say we want to just tighten all this up and put this text and this button right into this section here. So all we would need to do is click on the edit and then drag it into place, and the same thing here. And then we've got an extra section we don't need, so I'm just gonna click on the X to delete that. So I hope you can see now how easy it is to actually move stuff around at will, controlling columns and sections and all the different widgets, because here's the thing, like most of these sitekit templates that you're gonna find are not gonna be a perfect fit right out of the box for your content. So it's nice to know that we can add stuff and change stuff around as necessary. And speaking of adding stuff, here's where it gets really interesting. I'm gonna show you how to add a brand new section wherever you need it. So let's say we want to add a section between testimonials and this section right here. We would just go between them, and I'm going to click on the plus icon. And you've got two choices here. I'm going to go over this option with you in a little later in this video, where you can actually just do it completely from scratch, choosing the columns, then adding widgets manually. But I'm going to start you off nice and easy here with something that's more pre-built. So I'm going to choose the folder icon. And here you've got some options. So we're going to bypass this. We're not going to add in a whole page in the middle here. We're going to go to blocks. Now these are a bunch of pre-made blocks by Elementor, and you will see a lot of them have this Pro designation on them. That means you have to have Elementor Pro to use them, but there's lots of free ones too. So I'm going to go up. I want to make an FAQ section here. So we're going to go up to category, and here's where you can kind of look. You can browse based on the purpose of the section. But keep in mind, you can mix and match these. Like there's nothing saying this has to be an about section necessarily. But anyway, I'm just going to go down to FAQ and see what they've got for us here. All right, so I'm going to use this layout right here and just click on insert. Okay, so here we have this brand new section, and now all we have to do is customize it. So we already know how to do all of that. We choose each text block and we add in our own text. And it would go the same for all of these right here. This happens to be an FAQ section, so you would click here and then you would type in the name, the title of the question, then your answer for it here. We already know how to do all of that. And then of course we can style it by choosing the section, going up to style, and I'm going to type in this green color value here, and I'm actually going to save it too. I forgot to do that earlier. So create new global color, create. Then maybe I don't like how bold this text is, so I'm just going to click on there, go to Style, Typography, Weight. Let's just do 600 semi-bold. And then this text is hard to read. It's gray on green. That doesn't look so great. So I'm going to go to Style, and I will make that white. And I think I'm going to make it a little thicker as well. So Typography, Let's go from 300 light to 400 normal. And let's say I want to make this little green divider line. First of all, if I don't want that divider, I can just right click delete. But let's say we want it, so I'll do a Command Z and I'll choose it, style, and I will choose our kind of navy color for that. Now you could go through the process of doing that for each of these, but there's no need. I'm gonna right click on copy and then do that on all of these titles real quick, paste style. And I'll do the same with the little divider line, right click copy, right click paste style. And then finally with this text, right click copy, right click paste style. And I think that looks pretty good. So what though if we wanted to actually add in a few little items? Like let's say we don't want this to be a slideshow right here. We don't have any use for that. Well, what we can do is let's right click, delete it. And then from there, we can go up to our widgets. We could bring in anything from, a Google Map if you wanted to have something like that. And delete it. Or, just a single image if you wanted that, but I'll delete that. Or we could put in a video. So I'm going to drag in a video element here. And this lets you put in any video from either YouTube or Vimeo or Dailymotion, which I've never used, or self-hosted, meaning you would upload your own video to your website. I do not recommend you do that. It's just going to be a tremendous load on your server. I always like to do YouTube. It's good for extra SEO since Google owns YouTube. So all you would need to do then is upload the video to YouTube and then link to it right there. Let's say we have a little explainer video. And what I always like to do too, it always comes up like this by default. I'd like to just get rid of that so it's nice and clean. And coming down to testimonials, what I like to do is add a star rating to every testimonial. So we've got a widget for that as well. I'm just going to type in star rating. Here we go. And I'm just going to drag this widget right on top of that testimonial. And I'm going to go to style and I'm just going to drag the spacing out a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Then I'm just going to right click copy, then right click paste, right click paste, and then just move them to the right position on top. And we are good to go. I think that's definitely an improvement. It helps sells it like an effective testimonial. Okay, so we are almost good to go with our homepage. By now, you know all the major procedures that you're gonna need to know to kind of create anything you need. However, we have one really important step left here, which is to make sure it looks good on mobile, because half, if not more than half, of your website traffic is gonna be browsing on a mobile device or a tablet. So luckily, Elementor's made it really easy for you. So if you go down here to where it says responsive mode, it's this little icon right here. I'm going to click on that, and this allows you to toggle back and forth between desktop view, tablet view, and mobile view. So our big job here really is to go through bit by bit and just make small tweaks to make sure it looks as good as possible on all your devices. And the good news is when you're using these pre-built site kits, they've done most of that work for you. Sure, there will always be little things to tweak, but for the most part, it's going to be mostly good to go. So one thing right away I can see is this image looks kind of funky, right? It's just not the right size. So I'm going to click on that column. Now, you really have two choices here. The first would be to just hide this on mobile altogether if it wasn't super important to you, in which case you would just choose the column, then go up to advanced, down to responsive, and you can do a lot of cool things here. You can hide stuff on different devices. So you could hide that whole column on mobile if you wanted to. And see, it's grayed out here, but that's not really what it would look like. That's just showing you a preview. To get a real sense of what this is going to look like on a device, all we have to do is collapse the side panel, and that's what it would end up looking like. So, but let's say you actually wanted to keep that image, you didn't want to hide it. There's something you can do. So let's just go up to our widgets, and I'm going to get a spacer. So this is the reason this isn't showing is because there's nothing in that column. That's just a background image. That's not taking up any space. But if you take a spacer, which is just kind of a blank widget, I guess, you're going to drag it into that column, and then you can give it some vertical space, just like that. Now, I happen to think this would look a whole lot better if the image were on top rather than on bottom. So here's another thing you can do. Let's choose the whole section again, and then go up to Advanced, Responsive, and here's another cool thing you can do. You can reverse the columns. So on mobile, because that's what we're looking at here, we're not on tablet yet, I'm just going to click on reverse columns for mobile, and then that's what that would look like. So to me, that looks pretty good. So let's keep moving on. We have this About Our Company section, looks pretty good. Then our services. Yeah, this looks pretty good too. I don't have any changes to make here. Maybe I want to give a little bit more space on the top and bottom here. So what I'm going to do is choose the section, then go up to Advanced. Now here's something really good to know. So whenever you see, whenever you're in this responsive mode and you're going to make a tweak, make sure that you've got this little icon that shows the mobile device next to it. That tells you that you can make a tweak here that's only going to apply to that device. So if I were to make the padding here, because remember we need padding on the inside, I want to unlink these values. I don't want them to be the same. But if you do that on the top here, that's not going to affect what it looks like on your desktop view, which is good, which is a really good thing. It gives you tight control. So, and one thing I'm seeing here too is it looks like this just looks kind of way too close to the edge over here. So I'm actually going to give it maybe 5 on the right, 5 on the left. And I think that looks pretty good. And let's say you wanted to center all this on mobile only. You can do that. So I'm just going to click on the text. Then under alignment, see we have the little mobile icon, meaning if we do this, if we center it on mobile, it's not going to center it on desktop. So we have free reign just to kind of make these tweaks here. And then I'm going to do the same with the button. And going down, okay, so here's an issue here. So we're having spacing issues. They're just not equal. So see how much space is between this, and then see how little is between this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose this column right here, and I'm going to Advanced. Now it's dealer's choice here. You could give it padding or margin. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go with padding here. So let's just do something like that. I think that looks pretty good. And maybe a little less. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me actually. Then I'm just going to right click, copy, and then on this one I'm going to do right click, paste style. And then down here, right click, paste style, and one more time. Now I think we still have an issue of the columns having spacing issues, so we just need to kind of tweak it to our eye. So I'm going to choose this entire section. And now I'm just going to start playing around with it. So I'm going to take a margin, and you can actually go into the negative on margins. I'm going to unlink these values. Oh, and once I did that, it kind of seemed to take care of most of it right there, didn't it? So yeah, this to me looks pretty even and clean. So now I'm just going to move on to testimonials. So let's go ahead and go over to Advanced, and then padding. I'm going to give it just a 10 value all the way around. And I think that looks pretty good as well. Now, here's an instance of I just think this text is too big. So I'm going to choose the text, go to Style, Typography, and see under size, we've got the mobile icon. So we know that we can tweak the size of that and it'll be just fine on desktop rather. Here's an instance where I think I'm just going to hide this image on mobile. I think it doesn't really add anything here. So I'm going to choose the image, Advanced, go down to Responsive, and then hide on mobile. And let's see what that actually looks like. And we can always tighten up the space here. I'm just going to give it a little bit more of padding. So choose the section, Advanced. Let's go ahead and make this 10 all the way around. And then let's choose this title and Advanced. And I'm going to just give it kind of a 0 margin all the way around that. And I think, to me, that looks pretty good. And I think our page looks really good on mobile now. And from there, you would just do the same thing on tablet and just kind of make all your tweaks in the same way. I'm not going to go through that whole exercise, but you would just do it the same way and make sure everything looks good. And then remember, we're going to want to click on Update to save all of our changes. And once you've done that and we're ready to move on to the About Us page, just click on the little eyeball icon down here to preview our changes. And you can go through and take a look. And then when you're done, just go to About. So here's our About Us page that we get to customize. And to do that, we're just going to click on Edit with Elementor. So let's just go through bit by bit and really solidify what we've learned so far. So obviously we would just click on every text block to add our own text. So if you wanted to change this headline, you could do that. And then you would click through here and add in whatever text you want to have. Then we've got an image over here, and this looks like it is a background image because I'm not seeing any actual widget over here. So I'm going to click on the column, then go to style. And yeah, so we've got a placeholder image here. So I'm going to click on choose image to replace it. And I'll go with this nice team photo here, insert media. And notice how close this text is to the edge here. I'm actually surprised that Elementor hadn't fixed that already. So what I want to do is choose this column, then advanced. And I'm just going to go over to padding. See, it's obviously got padding around all the edges except for the right for some reason. So I'm going to change that to 5. And that already looks better. And let's say you wanted to match this more to your hero section on the home page where we had the blue background here. I'm just going to click on, let's just click on the whole section actually. Then go to style, background type, classic, because that's how you can choose just a solid color. And I'm going to choose our navy color here, which means we have to then change the text color. So I'm going to choose the headline first, go to style, text color white, then this, style, text color white. And we did have a little divider line here, so I'm going to click there, style, white. Now moving down the page, we have this little section, our vision, with a slideshow next to it, but let's say we don't want that. Let's say we actually want this just to be kind of a single column layout. So what do? We just go and right click on this column to delete it. And let's say we actually wanted to center all of this content. So I'm just going to choose the headline first, then under alignment, I'm going to center that. And I'm going to do the same with this right here. And for some reason, it's kicked way over to the side here. So this is an instance where you're going to need to maybe do a little bit of troubleshooting to see why. I would guess there's probably some margin over next that's attached to this text block. So just make sure it's selected, go to advanced, and it looks like it's got some kind of custom width thing going on here. If you're ever super confused, so I just hit default and it fixed it. But if you're ever confused, all you need to do is just right click, delete. Let's just do that in fact, just so you see how to do it again. I'm going to delete it and then go up to widgets, and I'm just going to drag my own text editor right underneath it and then style it to center, and then we're good to go. And then let's say we don't want this inspiring quote from a company employee owner. Again, we want to design something that's going to serve your content. And if this isn't included in your content, then it's really easy. All we need to do is right click, delete. But let's say we wanted to replace that with a little section of a couple statistics. I want to show you a really cool thing you can do. So within a section, you can have what's called an intersection. So you can have a different number of columns kind of within this section. So it defaults to 2, but if you want to add one, just right click and then add new column. Now you've got 3. But I'm just going to right click and delete to get rid of that one. I think 2 is good. And then I'm going to look for something. I'm going to go down to under general, and I'm going to look for counter. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it right into our first column. So that just allows you to kind of count up from a number. So it's a good way to display any kind of impressive stats you have. So I'm going to click on that. Now this is what we call a compound widget, again, where both of these things are controlled in the same widget, the number and the label. So I'm going to have it end at 120. So it counts from 0 to 120. And then number prefix. So this is whatever appears before the number. And this is whatever appears after the number. So you don't always need to use that, but if I wanted to do like 120 plus, that's how I would do it. I would add a plus sign there. And then the title, I'm going to say 5-star Google reviews. And of course we can control the styling here, go up to style, and you can alter the number through here, the text color and the font and all that stuff, and the title down here. So I actually think the number looks pretty good. I don't want to change anything there, but I think this text is pretty big and it's pretty light and hard to read. So I'm going to start with the text color. I'm going to darken that a bit And I'm going to go to typography and I'm going to make it a little smaller. So I think that looks pretty good. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to right click copy, then right click paste to have a different version here. So in this one, I'm going to go back to content and I'm going to change this to, I'm going to put a $sign. And then I'm going to change this to 3,000. And I'm going to change the title to average savings. So obviously this would be whatever you need it to be. These are just examples. And this looks pretty good. My one nitpick is I think it takes up too much width here. So what I want to do is make this whole section a little narrower. So I'm going to choose the section, go up to layout, and then under content width, I'm going to choose boxed, and I'm going to give it some control here. I'm just going to see what looks good to my eye, which is something right about in here. I think this looks pretty nice. And then if we wanted to give it a background color, I'm going to go up to style and then background type classic. And I'm going to choose a really light blue background here like we have on our home page. And let's see what that looks like. Pretty good, but now we have to get rid of that margin, remember? So let's just go ahead and choose this section, go up to advanced, and then get rid of that 15 margin, just delete it. And there we go. Okay, so now we have a section of our team. So first thing I might want to do is tighten the spacing up. So I'm going to click on the our team text, advanced. I'm going to change the margin to 10. And of course you can change this text to whatever you want it to say. It doesn't have to say our team. So here we have another compound widget type, which is the image box. So it controls the photo, the employee name, as well as the job title. So let's just go ahead and start adding these. So I'm going to choose my first image right here. Then we would put in the name and job title. And then we would do the same for all the rest of them. So now let's say though, we only have 3 employees that we want to feature here. What do we do with this 4th one? Well, all we need to do is go to the column. Don't just delete this, because now we have an extra column here. You want to delete the whole column, right? So right click on the column, delete. But let's say we have maybe 7 employees, right? All we need to do then is we can duplicate this entire column. So I'm going to go up to the section, right click, duplicate, and then maybe go to this column and right click on duplicate that. So here we have maybe our president, vice president, that kind of thing. And these are the more low level employees down here. It's really customizable however you want to handle it. And of course, what if this isn't complete? What if it doesn't have everything you want? Maybe you want to add their social icons under each employee's name. Well, again, super easy. Just go up to widgets and I'm going to type in social, and we have social icons. I'm just going to drag this widget right under our first one right here. So it just defaults to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And it defaults to these 3. But again, this is very customizable. Let's say you want to get rid of YouTube. Easy. Just click on the X and it's gone. You can change the shape of these. They're rounded now. You can make them completely squared off, or you can make them complete circles. It's up to you. I'm going to go back to rounded. And then from here, we can change what these are. So let's say we only want to show Facebook and LinkedIn. So let's get rid of Twitter. So we'll choose Twitter, and then under icon library, we will type in LinkedIn. It has most of the it has all the major social networks here. So I'm going to click on insert there. And then for each of these, it lets you set the link. So obviously the link to their profile. You would do that for LinkedIn and Facebook and for all the different profiles. Now, let me show you some other things you can do. So let's go to style. What I like to do is actually change these from the official color, meaning Facebook blue, LinkedIn blue, YouTube red. I like to make it a little bit more branded. So I'm going to go down to custom. The primary color is the background. So I'm going to go down and choose the green color that we've been using. And I'm going to bring the size way down to make them a lot less intrusive. Something like that looks good to me. So once you have it the way you want it, I'm just going to go ahead and right click copy, and then I'm going to paste them for all these different ones here. And of course, you just want to reset the links on each one. And if different people have different socials they want to show, we already know how to change them right up here. And moving down, so now I want to show you something really cool. We've got this section, this last section of the page. So first of all, we have this button. So we could change everything one by one to match the home page, but I'm going to do it a different way. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to get back out to WordPress because we're going to go to our home page to copy the button we already have. So I'm going to click on these little lines right here, the menu icon, then exit, except I'm going to right click on that and open it in a new tab. So here we are back on the WordPress dashboard. I'm going to go to Pages, then go down to Home, and then Edit with Elementor. So I'm going to go down to this section, and I'm just going to right-click, Copy, and then go back to our About Us page, and right-click, Paste. And then I'm just going to right-click and delete this one, and just make sure this one is centered. And before I show you the really cool thing, I can tell right now all this stuff is way too close to the edges of the section. So I'm just going to choose the section and go up to Advanced and Padding. I'm going to make it 10, except that's on 10 pixels. I'm going to change it to %, and I'm going to do 10 there, just to give it a little bit more space. All right, so now for the cool part. So let's make sure the section is still chosen. I'm going to go to Style. So remember, we have all these different background types. We have just a normal color. We can do a image. We can do a gradient or a slideshow. But you can also do a video background, and I think that is a really cool treatment, especially on these sections toward the bottom of the page. So I'm going to click on Video, and under Video Link, this is where it lets you set the link of, basically you'd want to choose a YouTube video. I've just found a really cool free-to-use stock video of like a city street. So I'm going to paste that in here. And that's what that looks like, which is pretty cool, right? But the problem is now the text is really hard to read. So there's a few things we're going to want to do here. We could simply make the text white, but in most cases, that's probably not going to be enough. But let's go ahead and start there. I'm going to choose the headline. I'll make it white, and I'll make this text white as well. Go up to Style and White. But see, it's still a little hard to read. So in this case, what we'd want to do is actually add a bit of an overlay on top of this. Now, this goes for videos as well as a lot of times when you're using a photo background, you're going to want to use this trick. So staying on Style, we're going to collapse Background, and we're going to go to Background Overlay. So this allows you to do either a classic, just a normal solid color or a gradient. I recommend sticking to a color. I've seen gradients go badly for many people. If you don't choose right, it can just look really bad. So I'm just going to choose black, and then you can choose the opacity. So if you bring this all the way down, it's like it's not there at all the way up, and it's just solid black. So let's get it to a place where we can still read the text, but it looks really cool in the background still. So to me, this looks pretty nice. But I just wanted to show you that this is possible, but maybe it doesn't really go with this site. So now I'm going to go back to Style and Background, and I'm just going to go to, I'm just going to choose our kind of beige background color, and then I'm going to get rid of that background overlay just by clicking on it and then clicking on Clear. And then of course we need to adjust the text as well. So I did promise you I was going to show you how to actually create a new section completely from scratch, because there will be times when you have content that you're just maybe not finding the right content block that's going to serve it right. So it's really handy to know how to make something completely starting from nothing. So I want to add in a little section between our hero and our vision section. So I'm just going to go between them and click the plus icon. And this time, we're not selecting the folder, we're selecting the plus icon. Now, here's where you get to choose how many columns you want. Don't worry, you're not locked into it. You can always add more columns, delete them, change the sizing of them, everything goes here. So I'm going to start with 2 columns. So here is what we're dealing with. It's really small because there's nothing in it. So we're just going to go up to Widgets, and I'm going to grab a heading, drag that into place, followed by and then a text editor. And then let's do something different. Let's do an icon. Where is it? I'm just going to type in icon list. So I'm just going to drag that right on over. So I'm going to start just for my own sanity, because I hate looking at stuff that's like super tight like this. So I'm going to make sure we've chosen the section. I'm going to go to advanced and then padding. I'm going to do this percentage, and I'm going to just do 10 all the way around. And that already makes me feel better. So now we're gonna just change our headline. Maybe we wanna make that a bit smaller. I'm gonna go to Style, Typography, can make it whatever we want it to be. Fix the spelling here, there we go, it's better. And one thing we can do, I haven't showed you this yet, but with columns, you can basically drag it around to make the first column really big or the second column really big, whatever works best for you. And then I'm gonna put in our text over here, choose that text block, and just paste it like so. Then for our button, I'm gonna change the text on it from click here to contact us. And then I'm actually gonna go down to where we have the other button. I'm gonna right click, copy, then right click, paste style, just to make it easy. And I'm probably going to put that back on left justified. Now we've got our list items. So let's say you wanna talk about 3 different benefits that people can expect when they work with you. I'm just gonna click on each one and you would put it right here, the name of benefit 1. Then we can choose our icon here. Right now it's just a check mark, but maybe we want to talk about, I'm going to match our icons we had on our homepage. Remember I used Font Awesome Regular. I just think these look a little more modern than the super blocky ones. I'll choose a clock here. Maybe we're talking about how fast our service is. Then I would do the same for list item 2 and 3. Just choose the right icons here. Maybe a map. And then maybe a light bulb. And of course, there's a lot we can do here. It's really hard to read and the icons aren't very big. So you guessed it, we're going up to Style. And let's start with the icons. So let's change the color of those. We've got this kind of subdued green and we'll make them a little bit bigger. Now they're all mashed together. So I'm gonna go up to List and then space between is how we control that. Now let's go back down to Text. And let's make our text color a whole lot easier to read. So I'm going to choose our primary color. And maybe we want those to be bold. So I'm just going to go down to typography. And obviously we can change the size of it, but I think that's fine. Let's choose medium. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And let's take a look at what this looks like. I think I've got a nitpick. I would like this all to be slightly less wide of a section. And I would want all this content to be vertically centered. So let's go ahead and tackle both of those things. Choose the section, go up to layout, and the width, I'm going to kind of drag it to where it looks good to me. Something about there, and then go down to vertical align, middle. Okay, so to me, this is looking pretty good. The page is shaping up, but of course, before we're done, we have to make sure it looks good on mobile, right? So remember how to do that. We just go down to the bottom to responsive mode. Then we click on our mobile device here, and we just start doing a reality check to make sure everything looks good from top to bottom. So to me, this looks pretty good, but remember, let's say we wanted to actually swap this image and put it on top. Remember how to do that. We just choose the entire section, go to Advanced, Responsive, and then reverse columns on mobile. Cool, looks pretty good. Now, I'm actually surprised this section looks fairly decent to begin with because we made it from scratch. That's one really big drawback from creating a section from scratch is you're generally going to have more to do to make it look good on mobile. But in this case, it looks pretty decent, I think. So I'll keep going now. This looks pretty good. I might have a nitpick. I might want to make these two things slightly further apart. So, I would just probably choose this column, then go to Advanced, and then give it a bit of a margin on the bottom. So I'm going to unlink the values, and let's go to percentage, and let's just kind of kick it up a little bit like that. Looking good. So we have our team. Yeah, this is looking pretty nice. Now, we definitely need more space, more padding in this section. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I am not sure what these diagonal lines are doing. I think it might be kind of a bug that's happening because it's definitely visible when we collapse all this. So I'm going to chalk that up to just a temporary bug. So I'm going to go ahead and click the section and then Advanced. And then let's go and let's make sure it's on percentage. I'm going to do 10% on top and bottom. and then 5 on the sides. And to me, that looks pretty nice. I think we are ready. Obviously, then you would go back to tablet and you would do the same thing there. But I'm going to click on Update and then Preview Changes so that we can move on to our next page, which is Services. So this is a preview of what that looks like. Maybe you have a need for a page like this. Maybe you don't. If you don't, you would either choose to work with it and do modifications and rename it, or you can create a new page from scratch, which I will show you how to do later. But for now, let's just keep modifying this so you really get the hang of all the different processes. So the first thing we'll do is go up to Edit with Elementor. So obviously we can just start by changing the name of this. If you want to change it to something different, you can change this text. But for me, I think it's a little unnecessary to have. So I might just right-click Delete and right-click Delete on this little divider line as well. And let's say you want this to match what we have going on the top of our home page and our About page, which, let me get back to kind of the desktop view, which has this kind of dark text on it. So let's say we want to carry that over. We can choose the whole section, go up to Style, and then give it the background color that will match. Of course, then we have to change the color of the text. So choose it, Style, White. And let's say now that this is just way too much vertical space going on here, which I happen to think it is. So I'm going to go to Advanced. And I can see that there's actually no margins or padding going on, so I think I know what it is. Let's go to Layout. Yep, it's got a minimum height going on. So basically, they've specified that this needs to be at least 500 pixels tall. I don't think we need that. So I'm going to do something more like this. I think that looks a lot more appropriate to me. Let's just even it off at 250 because I'm a little OCD that way. And from here, you would just start adding in your different services. So they have space for 4 of them. If you had 5, you would right-click Duplicate. Or if you had 3, you would just X out of the 4th one, right? But I'm going to go ahead and do a Command-Z to get it back. And you just click in each one of these, change the name of the service. And you just click into each one of these, change it to the name of the service. Right here, you would do a little description of it. You could add bolding, which I think always helps. It's very subtle bolding here with this particular font, but it really does help direct people's eyes to where you want them to go, especially when there's a lot of text going on. People tend to skim websites rather than read them. So that's why I'm a big fan of bolding and italicizing and stuff. But anyway, we've got another case of a background image here. This is not a image widget, it's a background image. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the column, go to Style, and then choose Image. And then here's where we would select the image to represent that service. And then let's say we actually wanted to have a button, right, to get people started. So all we would need to do is we could go to the widgets and then drag a button over and then style it. But we've already got our styling going. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to go back to our home page. I will just right-click Copy and then go back to our services page and right-click Paste. And then I would just do the, and then you would want to set the link for it right here. Make sure it's going to your Contact Us page or wherever you would want it to go. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the rest of these sections with the images and the button. And then going down to this section, I'm going to give it a little bit more padding again, go up to Advanced, make sure it's on percentage, and I'm just going to do 10 all the way around. And then under Style, go to Classic and give it our beige background. And then I will delete this button and paste the one we already have. And then just make sure it's centered again. Cool, so looking through, it looks pretty good. Now we, of course, just need to do our homework and make sure that it looks good on mobile. So we'll go back down to responsive mode. We'll choose mobile and go bit by bit just to make sure. I think this looks pretty good. Everything's looking nice, except for this part where we want to give it a little bit more padding for mobile. So I'm going to make sure the section is selected, Advanced, and 10 on top, and 10 on bottom. Okay, so now we'll click on Update and Preview Changes. So now our next page here that they gave us is called Gallery. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now maybe you have a need for a gallery. Maybe you don't. So I'm going to quickly show you how the gallery works in case you need that. And then we're going to actually change this to a different kind of page. So we're just going to go up to Edit with Elementor. And first things first, let's make sure this matches what we have on our other page. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this divider line. And I will delete this little text here. But if you wanted it, you know how to click on it and change it over here. So we're good to go there. Delete, and then I will choose the section and I will make it match. So background type, I'll choose our blue color, then I'll choose our text and make it white. I hope you're really starting to get how all these processes go now. So make sure we've got the section chosen, and then under layout, minimum height, let's just go ahead and match what we had, which I believe was 250. Okay, so now we have a gallery widget. So if we click on it, we can see what they call a basic gallery. So it just allows you to upload a bunch of images, and then when you click on them, they open up into a light box like this. So if you wanted to use something like that, let's just click on it and click on edit. And then I'm just gonna delete all of these, all the placeholders. Then you just click on, you can either select files, which would let you bring all these up like so, or I'm gonna click on add to gallery, and I'm just gonna choose these ones like this, add to gallery, and then insert gallery. Now we have all of them up, and we can change it to 3 columns, whatever you'd like. And I would give this probably a little bit more space on top. So let's edit this section and go up to advanced. And let's give this padding all the way around. Let's do 10 all the way around. And make sure it's on percentage to be consistent. Something like that looks better to me. Okay. Cool. So, but let's say we don't need a gallery, right? That doesn't serve our content. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm just going to right click, delete. So let's say we wanted to actually make this a pricing page. So I would just change the name of it first, something like packages and pricing. And then I'm actually going to get rid of this whole section just to start off nice and clean. So I'm going to X out of that. So let's go ahead and add a brand new section. I'm going to click on right here on the plus add section, and we're going to do this from scratch. So I'm just going to click on add new section. I'm going to choose a 3-column layout. So let's say it's the kind of thing where we have a good, better, best pricing model. Now going up to widgets, I could drag in a heading here, but I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm just going to show you a different widget we have here. I'm going to drag a divider right to the top, and dividers can be as simple as just a horizontal line, or you can put an icon in the middle of it, or what we're going to do here is we're going to put text in it. So I'm just going to use this to the text. I'm going to type in silver. So this is our silver package, and obviously we need to give a little bit of love here so we can actually read it. We'll get to that in a second. Then go back to widgets. I'm going to drag over an icon list. Remember, we've worked with that already. Then I'm just going to drag in a simple heading. So that will be our price. So now it's our job to actually make this look good. So first of all, I'm going to click our divider here and go up to style. And we can change the color of the line, which I might do. I might make that a little lighter. And then for the text, I'm going to make that darker. So I'm going to choose our primary color there. We could obviously change the size of it. We could change the weight of it, all that stuff. We already know how to do it. Then I'm going to go to our icon list. Make sure we have content selected here. And here's where we would put in our different items. So these would basically be, if it's a pricing page, like the inclusions that people would get for this package. So I'll click into it. And I think having just check marks is a really good way to handle this. So I'll keep that as a check mark. And one really easy thing to do here, I could go through all 3 of these and change the icon, but it actually is easier than that. I'm just going to click X next to these other 2. And then I'm just going to copy it. So then we're starting from the same thing. Now I'm going to go up to style, and I'm going to choose the icon, and I will change the color to our green color we've been using. And under text, I'm going to change that to our primary color so it's a lot easier to read it. Then for our header, this is going to be our price. So I'm going to input the price tag here, and I'll go to style. I'll change the color, and I'll change the size as well because it's a little big and in your face. Okay, so what I want to do here though for this column is I actually want to give it some padding all the way around it. So I'm going to choose the column, advanced, padding, and then let's make sure percentage is checked. Let's see what 10% looks like. Looks pretty good to me. So since we have all of these styles already selected, I'm actually going to delete both these columns. Delete, delete. Then for this one, I'm going to right click, duplicate, and one more time. That way we keep all of our padding and stuff intact the way it was. And then I would just go over here. I would change this to gold, and I would change this to platinum, I guess. And then you would obviously go through and you would change the different inclusions you get, and you would change the prices. And let's say we wanted these to be white, 3 white boxes on a really light gray background. I'm going to choose the whole section, go to Style, Background Type, and then Color. I'm just going to choose that same really light blue that we've been working with. So that takes care of the whole background, but remember we want these to be white boxes. But remember we want these columns to be white boxes. So I'm going to choose the first column. I'm going to go to Style, Background Type, and I'm going to choose white. And then I'll right click, copy, right click, paste style, and one more time. But you'll see this hasn't really accomplished what we wanted it to accomplish, right? So there's a few things we need to do here. Stick with me. I'm going to choose the whole section, go to Advanced, and then padding, let's make sure it's %. Let's do 10 all the way around. Then we need to add a little bit of buffer between each of these. So I'm going to choose column 1, Advanced. So what I need to do now, I've already given it padding on the inside. Now I need to give it a little bit of margin on these outsides. So I'm going to make that really small. Let's just see what it looks like when we do %. Let's say 2. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to now go ahead and right click, copy, then paste style, and one more time. Looking pretty good, right? So now what if we wanted to add another little section, just kind of explaining how pricing works? You may have a need for a different section. So I'm going to click on the plus icon here. Now let's just make it easier on ourselves and see if there's an actual block, a pre-made block that we can use. So I'll click on Add Template, Blocks. Then I'm probably going to look for like a simple About section. Something like a layout. A layout like this looks pretty good. And remember, when we're looking for blocks, obviously you're going to be changing the images, the colors probably, the fonts. All you're really looking for here is the correct layout that's going to be closest for you. So I'm going to choose this one and then click on Insert. From there, we just change the text over here to something more like, then we would change this text. Right now I'm just going to change the style of it because it's for some reason they love this medium gray that I think is pretty hard to read. And then we would just choose this, this image widget. This is not a background, it's an actual widget. So we're going to click on Choose Image, and I'll click on that one right here. Looks pretty good. And then we have this section that we've had all along, but I'm going to show you another way to do this. Like, let's say you have a section like this that carries over from page to page. Rather than reinventing the wheel each time, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to go back to, so it's on all of our other pages. I'm just going to find it, right click, copy, and then let's go back here, and I'm going to right click, paste. Now we've got the whole thing, and the benefit there is it's already good to go for mobile because we've already fixed it, right? So speaking of that, let's make sure it looks good on mobile. I'm going to click on responsive mode. And this time I might click on tablet just for fun to see what it looks like there. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. I think maybe there's slightly too much space here. So let's go ahead and choose this section, go up to Advanced. Okay, so I think it's a problem of this section having too much margin underneath it, I think. So click there. Again, these are just things you need to kind of troubleshoot sometimes. So let's give this top margin 0. Let's see if that, oh yeah, that fixed it. Okay. Cool, so it's looking pretty good, and then you would do the same thing for mobile. Then we'll click on Update, and we actually have a very important thing to do here because remember, this section, this page was called Gallery. Just changing it here does not change it up here, so we actually have to go into our menu and fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this little menu icon, Exit, to go back out to WordPress. Then we'll go over to Pages, and see we have Gallery here. I'm just going to click on Quick Edit, and I'm going to change this to pricing. And then we want to change the slug as well. So what the slug is it's basically, yourbrandeddomain.com/pricing. So if this were still gallery, it would be yourbrandeddomain.com/gallery. So that's why we need to change that. And then we need to make sure that we click on update to make it reflect. Okay, so we've got one more really important page, which is contact us. That's how people are actually going to fill out a form to get started with you. But we can't go right to the page. What we need to do here, because we don't have Elementor Pro, which actually makes it really easy to create forms inside of Elementor, we have to do a workaround with the free version. So when we're in here in the WordPress dashboard, we're just going to go over and we're going to find this plugin called WP Forms. Now that should have uploaded as a plugin when you got started with Bluehost. If that's not here, you're just going to want to go to Plugins, Add New, and you would search for WP Forms right over here. And it would be this one, and you would just click on Install and then Activate. But we've already got it over here, so I'm just going to click on WP Forms, All Forms. And it looks like we don't have any pre-built forms waiting for us, so we're just going to go down to this orange Create Your Form button. Now they've got all these different kind of templates to go with. I recommend just starting with simple contact forms. So I'm going to click on Use Template. And this gives us everything that we're probably going to need in order for people just to fill out a form to request a callback or request an email back or something like that. So as you can see here, this is just asking for the bare minimum information for you to be able to email them back. But you can always add more stuff to it. So let's say you wanted to have a phone number field. Now there is what they call a fancy field down here that's specifically for phone numbers, but I think that is not available with the free version. So what you'd have to do instead is kind of a workaround and just bring a single line text over to where you would want that to be. And then just click on it and then type for the label phone or your phone number, something like that. And if you want to make it required, you would just click on that option right here. And if you wanted to change something about this, like where it says comment or message, that's a little impersonal. So maybe something like, what can we help you with? Or is there anything we should know? So that's the basic form. There's one more really important step we need to do though, which is actually to confirm the settings, which is how it's actually going to email from your website to your email address. Because if people just fill it out and it doesn't go anywhere, that's obviously not very effective, right? So just go to settings and then notifications. So if it says admin email right here, that should be whatever email address that you signed up. That should be whatever email address you used when you signed up with Bluehost. If you want to override that for some reason, you can do that right here. Just type in your email address. And then when someone fills out the form, that's the email address it's going to send to. You can change this so that whatever it looks like in your inbox so that you know it's coming from the website, something like that maybe. And then from name, so this would be, you'd want to put in your name here. And then just make sure this email matches this one and you're good to go. And see, we have field ID 1, so just remember that. You don't really have to write it down, just remember the number here just so we can check it later. And then go up and click on Save. Cool, so and then exit out of here. Now we're done creating the form. Now we get to actually put it on our contact page. So we're gonna go to Pages, All Pages, then under Contact Us, Edit with Elementor. So this is what this particular contact page looks like. I feel like it's a little busy. Really, there's one thing you want people to do here, which is to fill out your form, right? So what I might do is I'll change this layout to just be a form up here. And then down here is where we would have your address and your phone number and all that good stuff in case they wanted to get in touch with you a different way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this column. We don't need an image over here that's just going to compete with people filling out the form. So I'm going to do a right-click delete. Then I'm going to clear the way here. I'm going to get rid of all of these items, but I'm just going to put them down here. So let's say you wanted to keep your address right here. You would just click on it and you just edit it right over here. But then I'm going to take all of these other elements one by one. I'm just going to hold and drag them to the right spot, right underneath the address. So business hours. I'm just going to do this one at a time. Okay, so now we have our address, our business hours, and our phone number. I might actually put that above like this. And I might choose to have a few more dividing lines. So maybe I'll just do a right-click copy, and then right-click paste, and then maybe one more time here. And let's see what that looks like. Pretty good. And then obviously you just click on each one of these and just edit them over here. And I'm probably going to do something else here. I'm going to delete that email address, because people should really be filling out the form that we're going to provide them with above. And oh, one last thing. So if you want to change your, if you want to keep this map, you're just going to click on the little edit symbol. And then right here, you're going to put in your address, and that should populate right here. Okay, but now let's go ahead and I'm going to get rid of these extra things. These are just additional instances of the address, which we don't need. So I'm going to delete. So now the stage is clear for us to actually put in our form. So we're just going to go down and find the WP Forms widget, and we're going to drag it right where we want that to go. And then it's going to ask us to select the form, and we only have one simple contact form. And there it is, pretty simple, right? But I'm not super happy with how wide this is. Let me go ahead and collapse this so you can see how it basically just goes on and on over there. So I'm going to make this whole section kind of boxed in. So I'm just going to click the section under layout, content width, I'm going to do boxed. And then there we can obviously kind of make it whatever width we want it to be. I think something like this feels pretty comfortable. So let's go ahead and check it out. So we have our contact form, we have the rest of our contact info. Oh, and then we have this. So it's a contact us button, which leads back to this page. So I say we don't even need this. I'm gonna click the X. It's probably the one page where we do not need that panel. And now I'm just gonna click on update. But then of course we need to go to responsive mode and just make sure that it all looks good on mobile. I think it does look pretty nice. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of here and go over to exit, because we have to do, I'm going to show you one more thing before I can really wrap this up. You need to know how to create any new page that you ever want to in the future, because obviously it comes with, the standard 3 or 4 pages, but what if you need to add something different? Well, the way you'll do it is you'll start within the WordPress dashboard, then just go to Pages, Add New, and then you would add the title here, maybe Testimonials, and then Edit with Elementor. So here we have a blank page, but you'll notice this one actually has the title of it right up here. We don't really want that. So we're going to go down to where it says Settings, this little gear icon at the very bottom left. And under Page Layout, we're going to choose Elementor Full Width. And that leaves us with just the top navigation and a completely blank page other than that. Then what I would do is I would probably just steal from my other pages to get the header set up, as well as any other content blocks that we would want to modify. So I'm just going to go to our services page. I'm going to choose this top section, right-click copy. Then over here, I'm going to do a right-click paste, and then I would just change this text. And then you can start adding stuff down here. We already know all the different ways to add new sections. We can either use a block or we can create it from scratch. And then once you've created your entire page, you just click on Publish. But what the heck should go on your website in the first place? Well, if you're a service business of any kind, I've got something really special for you. It's my free masterclass where I'll share the ultimate plan to flawlessly create and launch a website that's going to be easily worth at least $10,000 to your business, and it's proven to automatically attract and convert 2 to 3 times more of today's casual visitors into tomorrow's paying clients every day on autopilot. So click right here to save your seat. It's truly the missing piece that'll fill in all the gaps for you. So click right here and I'll tell you everything.